The American Wild West is a landscape imbued with tales of outlaws, gunfights, and lawlessness. In the midst of this chaos, men like Bass Reeves emerged as legendary figures, enforcing the law and bringing a semblance of order to the untamed frontier. Born into slavery in 1838, Bass Reeves would rise to become one of the most feared and respected lawmen of his time, leaving an indelible mark on the history of the Old West. In this 1,200-word exploration, we delve into the remarkable life and career of Bass Reeves, shedding light on his extraordinary achievements and the enduring legacy he left behind. Bass Reeves was born into bondage in Crawford County, Arkansas, during a tumultuous period in American history when the nation was grappling with the deeply divisive issue of slavery. He grew up on the plantation of his owner, George Reeves, where he was exposed to the harsh realities of slave life. However, fate had other plans for young Bass. During the chaos of the Civil War, he made a daring escape from bondage, fleeing into the Indian Territory, now Oklahoma, a region that would become the backdrop for much of his later life. In the Indian Territory, Reeves found refuge among the Native American tribes, particularly the Cherokee and Seminole nations. He honed his skills as a rancher and became fluent in several Native American languages. These experiences would prove invaluable in his future career as a lawman. Bass Reeves' journey from fugitive to legendary lawman began in 1875 when Judge Isaac C. Parker, famously known as the Hanging Judge, appointed him as a deputy U.S. Marshal for the Western District of Arkansas. It was a historic moment, as Reeves became the first African-American deputy west of the Mississippi River. This appointment was remarkable not only for its historical significance, but also for the extraordinary career that would follow. Reeves was known for his remarkable tracking abilities, honed during his time as a rancher and his immersion in Native American culture. He could read the land like a book, following tracks and signs that often eluded others. His tenacity, intelligence, and unflinching courage earned him the respect of both his fellow lawmen and the outlaws he pursued. Reeves' jurisdiction encompassed the Indian Territory, which was a breeding ground for outlaws and desperados of all kinds. Notably, he was responsible for apprehending some of the most notorious criminals of the time, including the likes of Bellstar and the Dalton Gang. His exploits in tracking down these criminals became the stuff of legend. One of his most famous captures was that of Bob Dozier, a man with a $5,000 bounty on his head. Reeves tracked Dozier through treacherous terrain, enduring harsh weather and danger at every turn. When he finally confronted Dozier, the two engaged in a fierce gunfight. Reeves emerged victorious, and Dozier was taken into custody. This event further solidified Reeves' reputation as a fearless and effective lawman. Bass Reeves operated under a strict code of ethics, which endeared him to the communities he served. He believed in justice above all else, and was known for his fairness and impartiality. He never hesitated to apprehend wrongdoers, regardless of their race or ethnicity. His reputation for treating everyone with respect and dignity, irrespective of their background, made him a symbol of hope and justice in a region where lawlessness often prevailed. Reeves' code of conduct also extended to his personal life. He was a devout Christian and a loving father to his 10 children. His family life was a stark contrast to the violent and dangerous world in which he operated, showcasing the complexity of his character. One of the most enduring aspects of Bass Reeves' legend is his use of disguises. He was known to adopt various personas to infiltrate criminal organizations and gather intelligence. One of his most famous disguises was that of a dandy, a sharply dressed gambler who could seamlessly blend into the world of saloons and gambling dens. This clever tactic allowed him to get close to outlaws and gather critical information. Reeves' use of disguises and his remarkable tracking abilities led to the creation of many colorful legends. Some stories even claim that he would wear disguises to trick criminals into revealing their identities, only to later reveal himself as the lawman who had tracked them down. These tales, while exaggerated, added to his mystique and contributed to the folklore of the Old West. Bass Reeves' life was not without its challenges and trials. As the first African-American deputy U.S. Marshal west of the Mississippi, he faced prejudice and discrimination, both in his professional and personal life. However, his remarkable character and unyielding commitment to justice allowed him to overcome these obstacles and earn the respect of those around him. One of the most significant challenges Reeves faced was the racial bias of the time. Despite his exceptional skills and dedication, Some individuals in law enforcement and the communities he served viewed him with skepticism due to the color of his skin. Reeves persevered, proving time and again that his abilities transcended racial stereotypes. His remarkable record of captures and his unwavering commitment to the law eventually silenced his critics. Reeves' status as a former slave also added complexity to his story. He was, in some ways, a living embodiment of the struggles and triumphs of African Americans during that era. His escape from slavery and subsequent career as a lawman represented a remarkable journey from oppression to empowerment. His life story served as an inspiration to those who aspired to rise above the circumstances of their birth and make a positive impact on the world. Moreover, Reeves' legacy extends beyond his role as a lawman. He became a symbol of hope and progress for African Americans in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. His story was a powerful testament to the idea that courage, determination, and integrity could lead to success and respect, even in the face of adversity. His achievements blazed a trail for future generations of African Americans in law enforcement and other fields, illustrating that they too could achieve greatness. Reeves' enduring influence is seen in the numerous books, articles, and films dedicated to his life. These works not only celebrate his accomplishments, but also shed light on the broader historical context in which he lived. They help us understand the challenges faced by African Americans during the Reconstruction era and the early years of statehood in Oklahoma. Reeves' story serves as a reminder of the progress that has been made in the fight for racial equality and justice, as well as the work that still remains to be done. In 2012, a commemorative stamp was issued in honor of Bass Reeves by the U.S. Postal Service. This stamp featured a portrait of Reeves in his Deputy U.S. Marshal uniform, further cementing his place in American history. It is a testament to his enduring legacy and the recognition he continues to receive. In conclusion, Bass Reeves was not just a lawman, he was a pioneer, a symbol of hope, and a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. His life's journey, from slavery to law enforcement, is a story of triumph over adversity and a commitment to justice that continues to inspire people today. Reeves' legacy serves as a reminder of the power of determination, courage, and integrity in the face of prejudice and hardship. He was a true hero of the Wild West, and his name will forever be etched in the annals of American history. While Bass Reeves' legacy is undeniably one of heroism and inspiration, it is also a complex and multifaceted one, reflecting the intricacies of the time in which he lived. As we delve deeper into his life, we find layers of complexity that add richness to his story. One aspect of Reeves' legacy that merits exploration is the notion of justice in the Wild West. The American frontier was a place where the lines between right and wrong were often blurred, and the enforcement of the law was a challenging and sometimes morally ambiguous endeavor. Reeves navigated this complex landscape with a steadfast commitment to upholding the law and maintaining order. In his pursuit of justice, Reeves often found himself in life-or-death situations, facing outlaws who were willing to do anything to evade capture. He was known for his quick draw and expert marksmanship, skills that were essential for survival in a world where gunfights were a frequent occurrence. His ability to remain calm under pressure and make split-second decisions contributed to his success as a lawman. After the Civil War, Reeves settled in Van Buren, Crawford County, with his wife, Jenny, and children. Oral history indicates that Reeves served as a scout and guide for Deputy U.S. Marshals traveling to Indian Territory to work for the federal courthouse in Van Buren. In 1875, Judge Isaac C. Parker became a federal judge for the Western District of Arkansas, which had jurisdiction over Indian Territory. This court is moved to Fort Smith, Sebastian County. In 1875, Reeves was hired as a Deputy U.S. Marshal, making him one of the first black federal attorneys west of the Mississippi River. During his law enforcement career, Reeves was 6'2" tall and weighed 180 pounds. He could accurately fire a pistol or rifle with his right or left hand. Settlers said Reeves could double strike man with his bare hands. Reeves became legendary during his lifetime for his ability to catch criminals in difficult circumstances. He brought dozens of fugitives to the federal prison in Fort Smith. Reeves said the largest number of criminals he ever caught at one time were the 19 horse thieves he caught near Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Notorious outlaw Belle Starr arrived in Fort Smith when she discovered Reeves had a warrant for her arrest. In 1887, Reeves was tried for murder for shooting his backpacking cook, but he was found innocent. In 1890, Reeves captured Greenleaf, a notorious Seminole outlaw who had been on the run for 18 years without being caught and who had murdered 7 people. That same year, Reeves pursued notorious Cherokee outlaw Ned Christie. Reeves and his group burned Christie's cabin, but he escaped capture. In 1893, Reeves was transferred to the East Texas Federal Penitentiary in Paris, Texas. He stationed himself at Calvin on the Choctaw Nation and took his prisoners to the federal commissary at Pauls Valley on the Chickasaw Nation. While working for the Paris court, Reeves dismantled the Tom Story horse thief gang operating in the Red River Valley. In 1897, Reeves was transferred to federal court in Muskogee, Indian Territory. Reeves remarried in 19 to Winnie Sumter. His first wife died in Fort Smith in 1896. In 1902, Reeves arrested his stepson, Benny, for domestic murder in Muskogee. Benny was convicted and sent to federal prison in Leavenworth, Kansas. As a young man, Bass Reeves escaped to the north into the Indian Territory, where he became familiar with the Cherokee, Creek, and Seminole tribes. It is believed that during the Civil War, he served as a soldier with the Union Indian Home Guard regiments. After the war, Reeves settled in Van Buren, Arkansas, and worked as a farmer. Occasionally, he served as a guide for Deputy U.S. Marshals operating out of the federal court in Fort Smith, Arkansas, heading into the Indian Territory. Reeves boasted that he knew the Indian Territory like a cook knows her kitchen, and his expertise and knowledge of the area made him a valuable scout and tracker for law enforcement officers. In 1875, when Judge Isaac C. Parker assumed control of the Fort Smith Federal Court, he appointed Reeves as a Deputy U.S. Marshal. This appointment is believed to make him one of the earliest African Americans to receive such a commission west of the Mississippi River. Reeves served as a deputy marshal in the Indian Territory for an impressive 32 years. He was the only deputy to begin his service with Judge Parker's court and continue until Oklahoma achieved statehood in 1907. Standing at an imposing height of 6 feet, 2 inches, and weighing 180 pounds, Reeves became a well-known figure during his time in the Indian Territory. Muskogee Police Chief Bud Ledbetter once remarked, "The veteran Negro deputy never flinched when facing any man." Reeves also became highly skilled with both pistol and rifle. Territorial newspapers reported that he had taken down 14 outlaws during his tenure as a peace officer. When Reeves initially started working with Judge Parker, their jurisdiction covered over 75,000 square miles. Deputies from Fort Smith would ride west to Fort Reno, Fort Sill, and Anadarko, a journey of more than 800 miles round trip. When a deputy marshal embarked on a mission to capture outlaws in the territory, they typically took along a wagon, a cook who doubled as a guard, and at least one posse member. In 1897, Reeves relocated to Wetumpka, Indian Territory, and then to Muskogee in 1898 when federal courts opened in the territory. The Chickasaw Enterprise reported on November 28, 1901, that Bass Reeves had arrested more than 3,000 individuals for violating federal laws in the territory. Although Reeves cannot read or write, this does not limit his effectiveness in fighting crime. Before leaving, he will ask someone to read the wanted orders to him and remember the contents, which order is which. When asked to present an order, he never made a wrong choice. An imposing figure, always riding a large white stallion, Reeves began to build a reputation for his courage and success in luring or killing many of the territory's desperados. Always wearing a wide-brimmed hat, Reeves is generally a dapper man with his boots polished to a shiny shine. He is known for being polite and courteous. However, when his purpose serves him, he is a master of disguise and often uses aliases. Sometimes appearing as a cowboy, a farmer, a gunslinger, or an outlaw, he always carried 2 Colt pistols, lunging forward for quick draw. Ambidextrous, he rarely misses his target. Leaving Fort Smith, which often carried numerous arrest warrants, Reeves would return several months later, apprehending a number of outlaws accused of crimes ranging from smuggling to murder. Given his fee and prize, he will make a big profit before spending time with his family and returning to the arena. The stories of his arrests became legendary, full of intrigue, imagination, and courage. On one such occasion, Reeves was pursuing 2 outlaws in the Red River Valley near the Texas border. Gathering a group, Reeves and the other men set up camp about 28 miles from where the 2 were hiding, at their mother's house. After surveying the terrain and making a plan, he soon disguised himself as a tramp, hiding the tools of his trade handcuffs, gun and badge under his clothes. Walking home, he wore old shoes, dirty clothes, a cane, and a soft hat with 3 bullet holes in it. When he got home, he told the woman who opened the door that his leg hurt after being chased by a group that shot 3 bullet holes into his hat. After asking for a bite to eat, she invited him in, and while he ate, she began telling him about her 2 outlaw sons, suggesting that the 3 of them join forces. Pretending to be tired, she agreed to let him stay a little longer. As the sun set, Reeves heard a shrill whistle coming from outside the house. A moment later, the woman came out and whistled back. Soon after, 2 horsemen came to the house and talked for a long time with her outside. Then the 3 of them walked in, and she introduced her sons to Reeves. After discussing their various crimes, the trio agreed that joining together would be a good idea. Sitting in the same room, Reeves carefully observed the 2 men as they fell asleep and as they snored deeply, handcuffing them without waking them. As dawn approached, he would wake the children and chase them out the door. Followed the first 3 miles by their mother, who'd been cursing Reeves the entire time, he led the 2 men 28 miles to camp where the men of the group were waiting. The outlaws were turned over to authorities within days, and Bass received a $5,000 reward. One of the highlights of Reeves' career was the capture of a notorious outlaw named Bob Dozier. Dozier was known as a dealer in crime, as they committed a variety of crimes from stealing cattle and horses to robbing banks, stores, and stagecoaches, murder, and land fraud. Because Dozier was unpredictable, he was also difficult to catch, and although many lawmen tried to catch him, none succeeded until it came to Reeves. Dozier eluded Reeves for several months until the lawmen found him on the Cherokee Nation. After refusing to surrender, Reeves killed Dozier in a gunfight on December 20, 1878. In 1887, Reeves was accused of murdering a group of cooks. Like many of the outlaws he captured, he was tried before Judge Isaac Parker. He is represented by United States Attorney W. H. Clayton, a colleague and friend. In the end, Reeves was acquitted. In 1889, after Reeves was sent to Paris, Texas, he pursued the Tom Story gang of horse thieves. He waited along the route the gang took and surprised Tom Story with an arrest warrant. The outlaw panicked and pulled out his gun, but Reeves fired faster and shot him dead. The rest of the group disbanded and were never mentioned again. In 1890, Reeves captured a notorious Seminole outlaw named Greenleaf, who had murdered 7 people and remained on the run for 18 years. That same year, Reeves pursued notorious Cherokee outlaw Ned Christie. Reeves and his group burned Christie's cabin, but he escaped capture. In 1896, Reeves' wife died in Fort Smith, and the following year he was transferred to the federal penitentiary in Muskogee, Indian Territory. In 1900, he married a second time to a woman named Winnie Sumter. Although Reeves' heroic stories are many and varied, the most difficult hunt for the sheriff was that of his son in 1902. After delivering 2 prisoners to U.S. Marshal Leo Bennett in Muskogee, Oklahoma, he received bad news. His son, Benny, was charged with murder after killing his wife in a fit of jealousy. Even though the order had been on Bennett's desk for 2 days, other deputies were still reluctant to accept it, and even though Reeves was shaken, he still asked to take responsibility for finding his son. 2 weeks later, Reeves returned to Muskogee with his son and turned him over to Marshal Bennett. His son was tried, sentenced to life in prison. Later, thanks to a citizen petition and exemplary criminal record, Bonnie Reeves was pardoned and lived the rest of her life as a model citizen. In 1907, state agencies took over law enforcement and Reeves' duties as deputy marshal ended. Bass next took a job as a patrol officer with the Muskogee, Oklahoma Police Department. During the 2 years he held this position, he never committed any crime. Reeves' diagnosis of Bright's disease finally ended his career as he lay on his deathbed in 1909. He died on January 12, 1910, and was buried in the agency cemetery in Muskogee, Oklahoma, but the exact location of his grave has not yet been determined. According to Find a Grave, it is privately owned and unmarked. The long and laudatory obituary of this universally respected man described him as utterly courageous and knew no other master than duty. During the 35 years Bass Reeves served as Deputy United States Marshal, he earned his place in history as one of the most effective legislators in Indian Territory, attracting more than 3,000 lawbreakers, and helped tame this lawless territory. Killing some 14 people during his service, Reeves always stated that he never shot a man when it was not necessary for him to do so in the discharge of his duty to save his life. When Bass Reeves passed away on January 12, 1910, the Muskogee Phoenix paid tribute to the legendary lawman, stating in the history of the early days of eastern Oklahoma, the name of Bass Reeves holds a prominent place among those who rid the old Indian territory of outlaws and desperados. No account of the government's officer struggles with these outlaws, which persisted until a few years ago when the territory saw a rapid influx of settlers, would be complete without mentioning this man. During that time, he was sent to apprehend some of the most dangerous characters ever to infest Indian territory, jeopardizing lives and peace within its borders. And he successfully apprehended his targets as often as any of the deputies. Perhaps the most telling evidence of his dedication to duty is the fact that he arrested his own son for murder once he received a warrant. Bass Reeves stands as one of the greatest peace officers in the annals of American Western frontier history. Reeves worked until Oklahoma achieved statehood in 1907, at which time he became a city policeman for Muskogee. He died of Bright's disease on January 12, 1910.